Mr. Goenka, you're a teacher of Vipassana meditation. What is this type of meditation and what are its goals?
I teach a way of life, code of conduct, an art of living, how to live peacefully, how to live harmoniously, how to live a life of morality, a life with the mastery over the mind, a life with the purity of the mind, full of love, compassion, goodwill. This is the goal.
How are students taught this technique of Vipassana meditation?
Well, one has to join a course, a camp for 10 days and cut oneself off from all the world and start working with the teacher. Then only one can learn this art.
Are there certain rules that one follows at a camp of this type?
Certainly one has to live the life of morality so far as the physical actions and vocal actions are concerned. One has to abstain from all immoral activities. And one has to remain in complete silence for 9 days of the camp.
What specific techniques are taught in order to bring one to a learning of Vipassana meditation?
One has to start developing the mastery over the mind, and for which one learns how to observe one's own natural respiration. For the first 3 to 3.5 days, one practices the observation of respiration as it comes in, as it goes out. By that time, one reaches a stage where one develops a little bit of mastery over the mind, and the mind gets sharper, more sensitive, and then one switches over to observing the mind matter phenomena within the framework of the body, and one starts observing whatever sensation one experiences on the body with equanimity.
How does this observation of physical sensations on the body affect the mind?
Mind and matter are so interrelated, you can't separate them. All the impurities of the mind manifest themselves as sensation on the body. When you observe these sensations on the body equanimously, you get rid of these defilements of the mind becomes purer and purer, and this is how you live a good life, a happy life, harmonious life.
So Vipassana meditation is actually observing the sensations on the body while remaining equanimous.
Quite so. Quite so. One has to observe the sensation equanimously, that means objectively, as it arises and as it passes away.
Why is this equanimity necessary in order to accomplish the goals of Vipassana meditation?
Because it is the equanimity which purifies the mind. Whenever one starts reacting, or so long as one keeps on reacting with craving and aversion, when you like something, you start craving. When you don't like something, you start hating it. So this reaction of craving and aversion generates a tremendous amount of defilements, which results in tensions, misery, and one certainly does not live a happy life, harmonious life with these tensions and miseries.
You spoke of these abstaining from immoral acts. What are these immoral acts that one must abstain from in order to take a course of Vipassana meditation?
At the vocal level, one should not speak lies. One should not speak harsh words. One should not waste one's time talking useless talks, meaningless talks. One should not use words of slanders, backbiting, etc. That is morality of the vocal activities. And then the morality of the physical activities. One should abstain from killing. One should abstain from stealing. One should abstain from sexual misconduct. Here, coming to a course for 10 days, one has to observe complete celibacy, and one should abstain from taking any kind of intoxication.
So, by remaining in complete silence, one automatically avoids these vocal
Quite
immoral acts.
Quite so. And not only that, when you are silent vocally, it becomes easier for you to silence your mind. Anybody who starts practicing any kind of meditation very soon realizes that the mind is nothing but a chatterbox. It keeps on chattering all the time. You have to silence your mind to go to the deeper levels of the mind and eradicate the deep-rooted complexes. Remaining silent at the vocal level, one finds it easier to make the mind silent and go to the deeper levels.
Why is it necessary to follow this code of moral conduct in order to take the course in Vipassana meditation?
Because as and when you break this kind of moral conduct, you generate so much upheaval in your mind, and the mind is so agitated. And on the one hand, you keep on agitating your mind. On the other hand, you want to make it silence and go to the deeper level and purify it. These two things cannot go together.
What role does this observation of silence play in teaching of Vipassana?
Vipassana is nothing but observing things as they are, and you have to observe silently. When you keep on observing things as they are, then you don't generate a new defilement, and whatever old defilements you had accumulated in your mind, by the law of nature, they naturally start coming up on the surface of the mind, and if you keep on remaining equanimous, layers after layers of these defilements get eradicated, and this is how you come out of your old complexes.
So, in effect, the Vipassana removes past conditionings of the mind.
Quite true.
Correct?
It helps one to control the mind so that one does not generate new defilements, and at the same time, simultaneously, the old defilements get eradicated.
Is this a changing of the habit patterns of the mind?
Naturally, every habit pattern is connected to some kind of defilement deep inside. When the defilements go away, the habit pattern certainly changes. The habit pattern of reacting changes into habit pattern of remaining equanimous with pure mind.
You speak of an equanimous mind. What does this really mean?
When you don't react with craving, when you don't react with aversion, this is equanimous, a balanced mind.
Doesn't being equanimous or non-reacting mean living a life of inaction?
Oh, no, no, no. When we say you don't react, does not mean that we teach inaction. On the other hand, when you change the habit pattern of reactions, it turns into a strength of acting. And the acting is always positive. When your mind is equanimous, then whatever situation may arise, you will make a right decision, a healthy decision, and whatever action you take according to this decision will be a healthy decision, a right decision, a right action, a healthy action, which will be always positive. But when you react, it is always negative. So we are making people to be active, not reactive, and so also not inactive.
How does this technique of Vipassana meditation differ from other meditation techniques, such as those which use mantras?
Well, in such techniques where you use mantras, they are very helpful to train the mind to get concentrated. But so far as Vipassana is concerned, a technique of mantra will go against the technique of Vipassana, because Vipassana is to observe the reality as it is from time to time. That means natural sensations that arise on your body, you have to observe them. But with mantra, you create artificial vibrations. You keep on repeating any word, you will create vibrations of that particular word. And you start observing that vibration. You can never observe the actual vibrations, the natural vibrations that you keep on feeling within the framework of the body. Therefore, the two do not go together.
So you're saying that there are natural vibrations which are going on in the body all the time?
Quite true. Whenever mind and matter comes in contact, a certain vibration arises because of this contact. Whenever anything arises on the mind, a certain vibration is bound to arise on the body. Those are natural vibrations. And when you start observing them, Then you observe the vibration or the sensations pertaining to your own defilements like anger, hatred, ill will, animosity, passion, fear. And when you observe them, those defilements pass away. But if you keep on observing created artificial vibrations, the goal of Vipassana is not reached.
Does this Vipassana meditation training take one to a renewed sensitivity so which these vibrations can be experienced?
There are two aspects of this meditation. One aspect is to develop the sharpness of the mind, to make the mind very sensitive, so that every sensation within the framework of the body is felt by the mind, is experienced by the mind. And the second part of the technique is to remain equanimous. If the mind just becomes sensitive and keeps on reacting to these sensations, then the purpose of Vipassana is not served. One has to develop both these faculties, awareness of every sensation that you experience on the body, and at the same time remaining equanimous.
In your courses, isn't it extremely difficult for students to sit silently for 10 days without doing anything?
Certainly it looks so initially. A newcomer hesitates always. How can I sit for 10 days like this silently without doing anything, cutting off all connections with the world? But when one starts working, one starts realizing very soon that it is so helpful. And after 2 or 3 days, it becomes so easy. It's not difficult at all.
So it's within the capability of any ordinary human being to sit for 10 days.
Quite true, quite true.
Could anyone just cut themselves off from the world for 10 days, observe the sensations on his body, and be successful? Or do they need a teacher for this?
Well, I should say initially, for the first 10 days, it is essential that you work under an experienced person who knows the technique. Otherwise, sometimes it might be harmful. You make the mind very sharp and you start penetrating the mind. That means it is the operation of the mind, and some deep-rooted emotion, if it starts overpowering one, there must be somebody to guide. So for the first 10 days, it is essential that you learn under a experienced teacher. After that, you are your own master, you can carry it.
So once one has taken one of these 10-day courses, he can then continue to practice the technique on his own.
Certainly, certainly, because in this technique, the teacher is not a liberator. One has to work out one's own liberation. The teacher is only a guide. He teaches the technique. This is how you learn how to observe your respiration. This is how you learn how to observe your sensation. This is how you remain equanimous, and then go ahead. The path is there to take you to the goal.
What is the cost for these courses? Are there charges?
How can there be cost for a technique which is so invaluable to change the life of somebody from impurity to purity, from misery to happiness? No price can anyone give for it. The moment a teacher starts charging for the teaching, it loses all its purity, it loses all its strength. There cannot be any charge for the teaching.
How is this technique of Vipassana useful to students in their everyday life?
It is useful for everyone. When the mind remains confused because of this habit of reactions, the habit of craving, habit of aversion, then one cannot take a right decision. One cannot work with a peace of mind. Therefore, one cannot be really successful. By this technique, if one learns how to remain equanimous, a balanced mind, a pure mind with good qualities of love, compassion, then one may be from any walk of life, any part of the society. One is really successful in one's own profession, whether a student or a professional. Everybody gets benefit by this technique.
Is this meditation Buddhism, or can people of other religions practice it?
By Buddhism, if you mean an organized religion, then certainly this technique has nothing to do with this kind of Buddhism, which is an organized religion. But certainly this technique is the teaching of the Buddha, an enlightened person. And an enlightened person never establishes a sect. An enlightened person never teaches a sectarian teaching. It is always universal. So Vipassana is universal. It has nothing to do with any organized religion.
Do people from other religions take your course?
Certainly, people from practically every religion of the world have taken courses in these of Vipassana. They have found it very helpful to them.
What religions have participated?
Well, besides large number of people who call themselves Buddhists, a large number of people who call themselves Christians or Jains or Jews or Hindus or Muslims or Sikhs have all taken courses, and they found equally helpful to them.
They found the teachings of this meditation consistent with remaining in their religion.
Certainly, because the essence of every religion is the purity of the mind. And when this technique takes you to the goal of the purity of the mind, everyone who comes from any sect, from any religion, feels that it is my own religion.
Is it true that Catholic seminaries in India recommend your course for their students?
Yes, it is true. Quite a large number of Christian priests and nuns have taken courses. I have been invited to give a course in their church, and every time these experienced priests and nuns, when they come to the courses, they find it so very much near to the teaching of Jesus Christ that they feel very contented. Quite a time, some of these priests and nuns have announced that you are teaching Christianity in the name of Buddha.
What do these Christians get out of Vipassana meditation?
Like anybody else, if one gets purity of the mind, if one gets peace and harmony, if one gets good qualities of pure love, pure compassion, then certainly it is a very big gain. And this is what Jesus Christ taught. So these Christians, when they come to the courses, they find that the aim of Jesus Christ is being attained by this technique of meditation. So they feel very satisfied coming to these courses.
So it doesn't change their faith in Jesus Christ in any way.
Oh no, we are not for changing people, changing their faith from one religion to other or one saintly person to other. The faith must be in the good quality. Jesus Christ had so wonderful qualities of pure mind, full of love, full of compassion. If someone develops these qualities, one develops more faith in Jesus Christ. We won't ask them to renounce their faith in Jesus Christ. Certainly not.
We hear a lot from time to time about the term enlightenment. What does this mean?
If someone starts exploring the reality of mind and matter within the framework of one's body and explores it to the ultimate truth pertaining to the matter and pertaining to the mind, and then transcends that also and explores the reality pertaining to something which is beyond mind and matter, one becomes an enlightened person, because one is then free from all the traces of cravings, aversions, ill will, ignorance, illusions, delusions, and lives a very pure life.
Is this technique of Vipassana meditation a path that can lead one to such a final goal?
Oh, certainly. This is the aim of the technique. There is no magic or miracle that by joining this course of 10 days one becomes a fully enlightened person, not that. But one starts taking step on the path which will ultimately take you to the final goal of enlightenment.
It sounds to me that Vipassana is really more of a science than a religion. Do you feel that this is true?
Certainly. By religion, if you mean mysticism, by religion, if you mean some philosophical dogma, by religion, if you mean any rite or ritual, then Vipassana has nothing to do with all this. It is so rational, it is so pragmatic, it gives result here and now. One is not supposed to accept anything with any blind faith. So in that respect, it is a science rather than a religion, as the religion is understood in the world today. a science with the base of mere morality. That is the difference between Vipassana and the modern science. The modern science with the base of morality will become Vipassana, exploring the truth. Of course, in modern science you give more importance to exploring the truth outside. Here we give more importance to explore the truth within, inside the body.
How does Vipassana utilize the basic laws of nature that we usually consider as the followings of science?
Here also the basic laws of nature only. One explores the basic laws of nature within the framework of the body at the experiential level. You try to understand that only at the intellectual level, you try to accept it at the intellectual level, will not help. But when you start realizing it at the actual level, then you are coming out of all your ills. Because every time, say, you become angry, you react in a way which is so harmful to you as well as to others. This is the law of the nature. But when you experience it, that whenever I generate anger, I become unhappy, I make others unhappy, you slowly come out of this nature of becoming angry. And you reach a stage where mind is by nature free from anger, free from like this any defilement, and you live a very happy life and peaceful life.
Is this technique of meditation a new one? Is it something that has just recently been discovered?
It's a very old technique. From very ancient times, sages of India, saints of India, kept on exploring the truth within the framework of the body. As the scientists of the West explore the truth outside. So whenever anybody tries to explore the truth inside the body and reaches the ultimate truth, we call it Vipassana. But from time to time it gets lost. Then someone again starts exploring the truth, reaches the ultimate goal. Like this from time to time. It arises, people take benefit of it for a few centuries, then it's lost. Then again someone starts working on it, it arises, then it gets lost. This technique, at 25 centuries back, when Gautama became Buddha, he found it out, the old technique of India which was lost, he found it out again, made use of it for his own benefit, for his own liberation, and started distributing it to the people with all the compassion. It continued to be in this country, in India, for about 5 centuries, then it got lost. It went to different countries, it went to Burma, where they maintained it in its pristine purity for the last 20-25 centuries, and now it has come back from Burma. It has come to India, it has started spreading around the world.
Mr. Goenka, would you tell us where you were born and a little about your early life, please?
Well, I was born in Burma, central Burma, in Mandalay. Born in a business family. Forefathers migrated from India and settled down in Burma about 100 years ago. And because they were all from the business family, I was born in such a business family. In my teenage, I started the rat race of earning money. And in mid-20s of my life, I made a lot of money. And then that created a situation where I became involved in a lot of social service activities. And that again started building a lot of ego in me. And all those tensions developed tremendous amount of unhappiness, misery in me. That was the life before I came in contact with Vipassana.
How did you first come in contact with Vipassana? How did you go in search of such?
You see, because of this tension, as I mentioned just now, I developed a kind of headache, very severe headache, migraine headache, a special type of migraine headache, which could not be cured in my country, in Burma. The best doctors did their utmost, but they had no cure for it. So whenever an attack came, they would just give me morphia injection, which was certainly not a treatment. Every fortnight, an attack will come, and they will give me morphia injection. After about 5 years or so, they started saying that if we keep on giving you morphia like this, you will become morphia addict, and perhaps every day you will have to take morphia. So they advised me to go around the world, which I used to do for my business purposes. They advised me to go around just to cure my disease, They were not very hopeful that the disease will be cured, but they were hopeful that I will come out of this morphia business. I might get some other painkiller in the West. So I accepted their advice and got myself treated for a long time in Switzerland, in West Germany, in England, in United States, in Japan. The best doctors could not treat. They could not even take me out of morphia. When I came back home, then a friend of mine suggested that why not try this technique of Vipassana for 10 days, and he suggested me to go to my teacher, Siaji Uba came. And this is how I came in contact with Vipassana.
Could you tell us just a little bit about your teacher?
My teacher was a layman. He was not a monk. He was a householder like me. And he was a government official, a high government official. He was the first accountant general of Burma after independence. And because of this technique of Vipassana, his own mind was so pure, his capacity to work was so good, efficiency was so great, integrity was so good, that government assigned him more than one duties as a government officer. There was a period when he was head of 4 different departments simultaneously, giving very good results and teaching Vipassana to the staff of the office. The bribery and corruption in those departments started getting eradicated. The efficiency of the people there in those departments developed, and therefore certainly the results were very good. And this is how he kept on working till he retired at the age of 55. But the government won't allow him to retire, and he was asked to continue getting extension every year till he continued to work up to the age of 67. After that, he forcefully retired from the government, having come to that age of 67, and started giving all his time in teaching Vipassana at a meditation center which he had established by that time.
So he maintained a high government position and taught Vipassana at the same time, is that correct?
Quite true. He continued to work in government departments, and at the same time he continued to conduct these 10-day courses.
You mentioned earlier that this technique had been preserved in Burma after it passed from India by a line of teachers. Was your teacher one of these teachers in this line of teachers?
Quite so. His teacher was a farmer, a cultivator by the name of Sayataji, and then the teacher of Sayataji was a monk, Venerable Lady Sayadaw, and like that the tradition comes from teacher to teacher. This technique came, but for many centuries it was kept with very few people. There is a belief in Burma that 25 centuries after Buddha, this technique will spread and will first go to India, get established there, and then it will spread around the world to help large number of people who are miserable. So when 25 centuries was over, then this was made free. People started taking such courses from many countries of different sects, of different sectors of the society.
You mentioned that neither your teacher nor his teacher were monks. You're not a monk either, are you?
Quite true. I'm not a monk. I'm a householder. And although the life of householder has many hurdles, many difficulties, but still the technique is meant for everyone. It is not confined only to the monks and the nuns. A householder needs it much more because he has to face all the vicissitudes of the life. And if the mind is not kept in equanimity, he lives a very miserable life. So it is very essential for the householders. As a householder, I can easily teach this to other householders, but if I am a monk, quite a large number of householders will hesitate, thinking that if they go on this path, they might have to renounce their householder's life, and they will hesitate to come on the path. It is not absolutely essential for one to develop this technique by renouncing the householder's life. Well, one renounces the householder's life, good, but it is not absolutely essential. Remaining a householder, one can develop this technique by practice and get the best advantage of it.
You're now presently living in India. How did you come to move from Burma to India?
About 13 years ago, I got the news that my parents who had been to India a few years earlier, my mother developed some kind of nervous disease, and I knew that Vipassana will help her. With Vipassana, she will come out of this disease. But there was nobody to teach Vipassana in India, which was the land of origin of this technique. So I was given permission by my government to go to India and serve my mother. In 1969 June, I came to India, served my mother by arranging a course where my mother and my father participated and 12 others, some known, some unknown, participated in the camp. And that was the first camp where 14 people participated. And this is how I came to India. And then after that course, those who participated, they were so very much benefited that they started pressing me to have another course for their friends, for their relatives, their near and dear ones. So the second course was there and the third course was there, like it started rolling.
So you've continued giving courses since that time?
Quite true. It's a continuous affair.
Approximately how many times have you taught this course now?
It is about 225 courses that I have given till now.
This is all over India and around the world.
For 10 years I kept on giving these courses only in India. But there was pressure from my students and others around the world. And since last 3 years I have started going out and give courses in different parts of the world.
Is your teacher still alive?
No, my teacher passed away early 1971.
How did his passing affect your life?
Well, I came here to give Vipassana to my parents, but actually he was very much enthusiastic that I am going to India to pay back the debt of Burma. Burma had received this invaluable jewel over 20 centuries ago, and now India has lost it. So he was very eager to pay back this debt by giving this wonderful technique back to India. He himself wanted to come to this country, but due to certain reasons he could not come. So when I was coming here, he was very enthusiastic, he was very happy that now the debt of India will be repaid. When I learned that he has passed away, I started thinking that how I can pay back the debt of gratitude of my teacher who gave me this wonderful technique, a new life, a new birth. And this is what I thought, that I should fulfill his noble desire, that this wonderful technique should go back to India and from India it should spread around the world. So I decided to dedicate my life for teaching Dhamma, teaching this technique to people who need it. I am fortunate that members of my family cooperated with me. My brothers cooperated with me, and then my sons cooperated with me, and they are still cooperating. They are helping, and that is why I am able to give my life for teaching this technique to people who need it.
I believe your main meditation center is called Vipassana International Academy. How did this place come about?
Well, when people in India started coming to courses, some of them realized that there must be a center where there should be proper facilities where people can get this technique, practice this technique in depth. My teacher also, before his death, he was very keen that there must be a proper center where this technique can be taught properly. So some of the students started looking for a place. In 1974, they got a place in Igatpuri, which is about 80 miles away from Bombay. In 1976, this center there started working. Since then, it is working there.
What are the facilities like at this academy?
Well, as I said, in this kind of technique, people have to come and stay there for 10 days, day and night. So there must be residential facilities, there must be facilities for their food, proper food, and all other hygienic requirements have to be there, the toilets, the baths, etc. So this center can provide facilities for about 250 people very easily. And people come and stay there and they work.
And there's a central meditation hall in which
Quite
the
true.
courses take place?
Quite true. People have to meditate with me jointly, and they have to listen to my discourses in the evening jointly. For that, we have got a hall where actually about 350 people can sit. And then we require every student to meditate in a small little cell alone, without any disturbance from anywhere. Up till now, we have been able to make about 120 such cells. The aim is to have at least 250 such cells. And then the residential quarters also, we would like that each individual stays in a residential quarter alone, without disturbance from others. Such residential facilities are coming up. It will take time, but ultimately, at least for 250, we must have segregated, separate individual residential places and separate meditation cells. But the actual facility, the aim is to be for about 500 people in this center.
So it's more helpful in teaching this technique to have facilities where one can be individually isolated.
That is true. Because as you go to the deeper levels of your own mind, it is absolutely essential that there should not be any kind of distraction or disturbance. If you are alone, then there are very less chances of any kind of distractions, external distractions.
What plans do you have for continued expansion of Vipassana International Academy?
Well, as I said, there must be at least 250 cells for individuals and 250 individual residential quarters. And besides that, for newcomers, because a newcomer may not go in that depth for the first 10 days, there can be dormitories where people can live together. The hall, which is now for 350 persons, has to be extended for 500 persons. And the other facilities like kitchen, the dining room, the bath and the toilet facilities have also to be expanded for the requirement of 500 students at a time.
It is possible to teach this technique without having a meditation center available itself. I believe you teach this at churches and at other facilities, do you not?
Oh yes, as I said, when I started, there was no meditation center in India, and I started teaching, and I kept on teaching for a number of years in such places, churches, temples, Buddhist viharas, Jain upashrayas, and schools, colleges, hostels, wherever I got any place available, I taught. So, initial teaching can be given anywhere, it makes no difference. But when you go to the deeper levels of your mind, make a deep operation, at that time it is essential that you have a very suitable, congenial place for that.
Are there any other Vipassana meditation centers in India other than this one in Igatpuri?
Yes, there is one in Hyderabad and another in Jaipur. And then lands have been purchased in Dharamsala and Barachakia. But I am not encouraging them to go further unless we have large number of teachers coming up when they can look after these centers. So at present, these 3 centers are working centers.
Are there other centers in the world other than just in India?
Yes, there is one in America, in Massachusetts, and one in Sydney.
When was this center in America established? Is this recent?
Yes, recent, about a year or 2 only.
And courses are being given there currently, is that?
Yes, regular courses are being given. There is an assistant teacher there who looks after the courses, and there are regular courses there.
So there are other persons other than yourself now teaching this technique of Vipassana?
Yes, people who have been working with me for 10 years or so have been given teachers training, and 10 of them have been assigned the job to teach. We have given them assistant teachership, and slowly as they develop further, they will be full-fledged teachers. There are 10 of them now working.
How does an interested student get more information about the location and scheduling of Vipassana meditation courses?
Well, in India, they can contact the main center, the Vipassana International Academy at Igatpuri. And for the world contacts, it is better they contact Vipassana newsletter in California.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goenka.
Thank you.